In order to fall asleep, you gotta pretend to sleep. You gotta just act while you're sleeping and then wait until.
Hey everyone, it's We Enjoy. Man, I feel like that was super loud because it was in my ears. Apologies, everyone. We are the Enjoy Boys. I'm Matt Fowler. Say hello, Eric Goldman.
Hello. Matt just called my shirt silly just because it has the Grabber and Michael Myers and why am I forgetting?
Okay, so
the Butcher.
You led with the most recent, but but the least known. For those who haven't seen the Black Phone, the Grabber is the Grabber. That's from the Black Phone.
Johnny Grabber, that's Ethan Hawke's character.
Yeah, Jonathan Grabber, who the grabby grabber who grabs. We are nearing the end of our epic Michael Myers-thon here on We Enjoy. We're wrapping up pretty soon now. We've entered into the most recent trilogy. The final trilogy, it won't be. But as of right now, this is what we're dealing with leading up to Halloween ends in just a couple weeks. We are doing the third movie we have done so far called Halloween. This one is the most oddly titled, though, because unlike the other two, it is a sequel. So we had the original John Carpenter Halloween, we had Rob Zombie Halloween, and now we have the David Gordon Green Halloween. So yeah.
Yes, and obviously this is not the only movie now. Scream obviously stands out for doing this, and I think there's at least one more example of like a sequel. Well, The Thing prequel a decade ago. They're like a movie that's like in continuity with the earlier movie, but just uses the same title, which is super annoying. It's just that in this case, there was a reboot that also used the title. So yeah, unlike Scream or The Thing, it's like, yeah, you have to deal with three movies called Halloween, but whether they're in continuity with each other, it's all.
So it's kind of like, well, Rob Zombie's Halloween kind of skirts the date. So when we're talking about Halloween movies in Halloween-y company, we'll say like, and we have to distinguish between these three. We'll say Halloween 1978, Halloween 2018, or Rob Zombie's Halloween. We never really have to say like the actual date of his movie.
Halloween 2007.
Yeah, but like it's the Rob Zombie Halloween.
Sure.
I'm going to apologize at the top of the show here for a couple things. One, I burnt my lip real bad on pizza today because I went to take a bite of the pizza, Eric, and it was a normal sized bite. It wasn't like I wasn't being a pig or anything. And the cheese pulled off the pizza. You know, like sometimes the cheese just doesn't go where your teeth want it to go. I tried to cut it with my teeth. It didn't work. And it pulled it off the pizza and it flapped down onto my lip and burned my lip because it was hot pizza. It was
body horror, Matt. Horror.
This is also what the new Hellraiser will be about. This is
your suffering will be legendary.
Secondly, I am also I did yoga tonight, so I am kind of narco sleepy. So I'm going to be slurring my words more than usual, saying a lot of ums and ers, even more so than usual.
And it's about 11:30 for you, so perfect.
Yeah, it's also late. From not late for 21-year-old me, but late for 47-year-old me, who's usually doing some epic honk shoeing right now. So anyway, we're going to talk about Halloween in the main event today. And but before that, speaking of silly, which Eric's shirt is very silly. It's got all of his silly friends on it. It's got who else is on there, Eric?
We got one of the killer clowns is on there, and we've got the Universal monsters. Well, Dracula.
I see Mummy. I see
the Mummy and the Wolfman, because they're the three that star in this year's Universal Monsters Maze. Every year now they've been doing Universal Monster Maze with different focus of characters that's there. But before you do that transition, because I know where you're going with this, I just want to mention, because you mentioned Hellraiser, that I am 6 movies in to watching every Hellraiser movie, which I've never done. I only had seen the 4 theatrical ones. I've seen 5 and 6 now.
By the way, before you dig into that, thank you for doing that on your own.
For not
incorporating it into
now
We Enjoy.
To do what will be 11 Hellraiser movies with the new one next week. But I was very amused because last week I was reading the cast of the one that Henry Cavill's in because I knew Henry Cavill was in one of them, and so that there was like Lance Henriksen and other notable people in that one. But the thing that was really funny was watching one I'd seen before, the fourth one, but I only seen it once. I didn't see it in the theater; it barely got released in theaters, and I watched it on video or DVD in like 1998 and never revisited it. But rewatching it now and seeing that not only is Adam Scott in it, but he's in it prominently, wearing a bunch of silly wigs. Did you see my tweet about that, Matt?
No, I missed it.
Oh,
and you know me, I'm always up for an Adam Scott wig tweet.
Yeah, I'll have to send it to you because he plays a 1700s or 1800s, I think 1700s, Frenchman named Jacques. Not trying to do an accent. But he's evil and summoning demons, and then he returns in 1996. It's all very funny. Well, now I need to talk to Adam Scott about Hellraiser 4 Bloodline. It doesn't make me pretty on it. And the other thing I was going to say is that, as we mentioned, Rob Zombie's Halloween, is that I watched the Munsters.
Oh, you watched the Munsters?
I've watched 3 Rob Zombie movies this month, Matt, and I'm not a person who wants to watch 3 Rob Zombie movies in a month. So.
Not even in the month where one would typically watch Rob Zombie movies.
Yes.
Which would be during
I've seen
season.
Here's all you need to know about the Munsters. Trish had morbid curiosity about it as like a Munsters fan, and we got about 10-15 minutes in Friday night, and she's like, I think that's enough for now. And then
for now became forever.
Well, no, then the next night
okay.
on, and then it was like 5 minutes in. She's like, let's stop for now. I was like, Trish, we got to do a lift. If we're doing this, Trish, you got to do a little more. And then finally, I finished it on my own the third night because I was like, I'm gonna power through this.
Oh my God, I know you have to eat an elephant a bite at a time, but that's ridiculous.
It's like
the only way out is through. Yeah, at a certain point, the only way out is through.
50 minutes, 50, which is long for a comedy in general, but for this comedy feels
an hour and 50 minutes. Well, there goes my theory that he can only make an hour and 10-minute movie technically.
No. Anyway, yeah. I'd love to see
all right.
feedback on it. Okay, let's talk about other sillies.
Back to my fucking segue. Your silly shirt. You know what else is silly? Ryan Reynolds. Ryan Reynolds is a very silly individual, and when he's paired together with Hugh Jackman, they do some very silly things.
They do.
So yeah, sort of out of the blue, with no real warning and no like, what time of day was this? It was just in the middle of the afternoon.
It was just the middle of the afternoon.
Ryan Reynolds tweets out big news about Deadpool 3, that it's underway, the release date for it, and that Hugh Jackman will be in it as Wolverine. Yeah. And it was all presented in a very, very silly manner that I approve of. I laughed probably for like 23 minutes at coming at the end part that said coming Hune.
Yes, you did.
Which really got me. It got me right between right in my funny zone. So it's going to come out on September 6th, 2024. Mm-hmm. And man, did people just like start pre-complaining about like continuities and such when it's fucking Deadpool. Like when it's fucking
it's
like,
multiverse.
It's multi. By the way, all the people who are upset that like, like Logan, well, he said Logan was gonna, I don't know. The people were upset about various things. One is that, well, Jackman himself said this was the last time he was playing Wolverine in Logan. Well, Logan is such a well-regarded movie. This was supposed to be the end of his story, and now he's doing it again, going back on his word, Eric. His word, the oath he pledged to the realm of cinema.
Right.
Whereas Patrick Stewart, by the way, did the same exact fucking thing for Logan and just appeared in Multiverse of Madness. So it doesn't fucking matter. And it's Deadpool. Do you think they're not even going to talk about that in that movie? Like in the movie itself, they will bring up the Logan thing. In fact, they've already addressed it.
Deadpool 2
a day later. But again, a day later this morning, as we record on a Wednesday evening, Hugh Jackman, then he tweeted out a thing with him and Ryan Reynolds, like jokingly answering concerns and questions that fans have about this whole situation. Mm-hmm. And they just played Wham's Wake Me Up Before You Go over all of their answers. Again, this is very silly.
I feel like we're switched places this week a little bit, Matt, because you kind of led with the complainers, which of course exist, but mostly it was rapturous. This is a
yes,
thing.
of course.
Mostly
I think
it
my
was
point
like,
is,
this is fucking awesome.
my point being is that like I can't believe that anyone is complaining about this for whatever reason, you know.
There's definitely, I mean, we've talked this before. There is the like, more cool stuff attitude. Like it's just like they're just gonna give us more cool team ups that we never imagined possible.
There's
fuck
just
us.
The whole thing is like this movie didn't service the fans enough, and then this movie had too much fan service. It's right. You can't fucking win.
No, because I retweeted Tim Geddes, who we used to work with at IGN, is kind of funny, who mentioned, that he said something like, I can't believe, he was doing it kind of jokingly, like it's a done deal, which it isn't, but he said, can't believe we're going to have in Secret Wars, Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man, and Robert Downey Jr. has Iron Man. And I retweeted it saying, like, this sounds very probable, because I think it is very probable. And there were some people being like, "Ugh, more of this." I'm like, yes, more of these three people. Again, this is just maybe, but like the idea of these three actors who all played these
widely populated series, superheroes played by wildly beloved actors.
Why would I want to ever see that? And then the whole thing with Logan, which Logan is a fantastic movie. But yes, the fact that Deadpool is so silly and is its own thing doesn't makes me not concerned. And also, we talked about before, it's like the whole like, can you like ruin what was a good send-off with something else? You can, but you also can't. It really depends on how they do it. And I've mentioned, I know on this podcast, I mentioned like the fact that I still cry every single time I watch the end of Star Trek 2, despite the fact that the next movie,
of course,
he comes back.
Yes.
Like, it's there's no way is Star Trek 2 ruined or cheapened or any of the things we hear thrown out this week a little bit with this.
I still enjoy the hell out of Aliens, even though I know what happens in the first 5 minutes of Alien 3. Like, it doesn't matter. There are movies you can disregard. There are movies. Am I wrong, Eric, in viewing Logan as a sort of pocket dimension experience anyway?
Yeah, I don't
as far as like how much of that movie are we supposed to actually connect to the X-Men franchise? Yeah, like Patrick Stewart's in it playing Professor X, so you have the idea that in some version of this, it felt like a multiverse movie to me.
Yeah. I mean, they make that one reference to the Statue of Liberty, which is like a kind of cool thing to connect back to the first time we saw those characters.
And also, what the fuck franchise are we talking about to begin with? The X-Men franchise is nothing.
Continuities all over the map. Yeah,
absolutely chaotic and messy. Like nothing lines up. Nothing.
And as much as I 100% love Logan, I think it is a fantastic movie. Do I love, like, it's kind of like that whole, like you just mentioned Alien 3, although I like Logan a lot more than Alien 3, but the whole thing of like, do I love that in Logan, the end of the X-Men was Professor X, like losing it and he killed the X-Men? I don't know if I love that. It's like, that's
why I felt like it was a multiverse movie anyway. Yeah. And in fact, I feel like the X-Men franchise inadvertently created the multiverse before the MCU is purposely creating it, just with their sort of timeline screw ups.
And Deadpool already joked about that with the McAvoy and Stewart joke and, keeping the timeline straight. Yeah. Anyway, this is happening. This is the MC. There will be a Marvel Studios movie produced by Kevin Feige starring these two guys. Of course, it's happening in the middle of what they're calling the multiverse saga. So there's a million ways to do it. I also do think that, yes, Hugh Jackman being in Secret Wars just went up 1,000% as a possibility.
Yeah.
We'll see.
This is good news. This is what we like in the biz. We like to call good news.
It's fun, guys. We're having fun here.
Hey, let's all have fun. Let's enjoy things, like the title of the podcast says. Someone who wasn't enjoying anything was apparently the director of Blade, Bassam Tariq, who has dropped out of the film just almost a month, right? It was supposed to start just filming in November before production. It was, just gearing up to start shooting. And he has dropped out. They just cite creative differences. Again, like Marvel does sometimes, Bassam Tariq is sort of a critically acclaimed filmmaker, documentarian who hasn't made any. He's not coming from the realm of blockbusters, right? It's some indie
he
filmmaker.
becomes even more like
he's very sort of like
he is his underground in this. I know he did that movie with Riz Ahmed, so that was kind of his like one sort of bigger. I say bigger to mean like a bigger indie. But yeah, he was a very off the radar pick for this, even though Marvel does that a lot. But yeah, him leaving they gave what is frankly a fully bullshit thing about it being a schedule, like, oh, the fact that the movie had been delayed a couple times on production. I'm like, given that we're just talked about how this was his big break into the mainstream, there's no way he's like, gotta go, can't wait for Blade. Like, I don't buy that in any way, shape, or form.
Right. This was the case of like somebody who, and we'll never know like until somebody actually emphatically says what happened, but they probably won't anyway. But yeah, like a guy used to working in really small filmmaking environments, all of a sudden in a giant, in the Marvel machine, sometimes it doesn't quite work out. And by the way, that extends to somebody like a larger, you could say, indie filmmaker who now does like bigger productions, which is Edgar Wright, or not everyone gels with the Marvel machine, and that's fine.
No, of course, because it is. I don't agree at all that it's like, oh, there's no individual nature to the Marvel movies, because I think, and we've seen this year with Raimi and Taika Waititi. Taika Waititi, some say to a fault. Like, some people have said his latest Thor movie was to him. You can have an individual stamp on these movies, but you are also working within, a larger confines, and I'm sure it won't work for everyone who can't sort of make that all work. I will say, I don't think there's any way there was some concern that like, oh, is this movie won't happen. It'll happen. It might get delayed, but I think, they're going to go forward with Blade, with the
Well, they have it all cast up and they're ready to shoot. Do you think it'll get delayed, or do you think they pull? What's Scorsese doing? Like, is Scorsese available for this?
I just think, to make November next year, it would have to move quick. Ant-Man is probably the most comparable situation, because even Doctor Strange, like, Derrickson left earlier than we knew because of COVID, but he still left early where there was like more time than this. This is more of like the Ant-Man situation where, like, Ant-Man, they'd cast Evangeline Lilly, they cast 1 million people before he left. So yeah, we'll see if they can make that November date or if it ends up getting moved. It is interesting. This is all like these two stories were like 3 weeks out of D23 Expo, where both those movies were conspicuous by not being mentioned. Now with Blade, I think that they go, because I was like, why didn't they talk about Blade at all? I thought they'd announced the cast because all these cast members, the trades have been breaking, and now I think it's probably because the director, like, his foot was out the door, so that's why they didn't talk about it, because they couldn't have him come out and talk about it. But with Deadpool, I'm guessing Jackman, the deal wasn't signed, they hadn't like 100%. Because it was like a week later they moved Untitled Marvel from February 2024 to a few months later to September. So I think that was just not quite ready. But it's too bad they couldn't do that in person, because that would have been obviously a pretty amazing moment in person. But there you go. We'll see who directs Blade.
What if it's John Carpenter and it's called John, and it's strangely the second movie called John Carpenter's
Carpenter's More Vampires. Yeah.
Okay, so and then you added here something I only kind of know about, which is that, but it's more of our ongoing discussion about the increasingly unreliable nature of streaming productions.
Yeah.
We've mostly been talking about what happened with Batgirl on HBO Max, but this is a Netflix show called Grendel, which is based on a Dark Horse comic, I believe, and it did film an entire season, all 8 episodes, Eric.
Yeah. And at first it was like, because when the first story was like, Netflix has decided not to go forward with Grendel, and then they announced, in that story it listed so many cast members. I go, all those people were cast, and then I saw someone say, wow, they'd already filmed a bunch of this. I go, oh shit, and then it turns out they filmed all of it. Like, they filmed an entire season. And one of the actors did like a big post about how disappointing this is.
But it wasn't Andy Milonakis. Oh, and no, not Milonakis. That's the MTV guy.
It's like he is not Andy Milonakis.
I misread it again. Very narco sleepy here. Okay, I'm going to pretend it's Andy Milonakis, and he's the star of Dark Horse Comics Grendel, which is about a vigilante. That's all I know.
I
So
read
yeah,
Batman
this is
versus Grendel.
at that point, like, what is it? Are we talking more in tax cut credit stuff, or like what's the harm in releasing a filmed season? Are they like effects they're not going to finish? They're
I
saving
don't
money
know.
by
And,
like not like
let's be blunt here, because who knows? Maybe it sucks, but that hasn't stopped Netflix before.
I've seen their catalog of movies.
Like
Yeah,
Netflix
like,
does not go by a quality measure. And again, as we've said many times, there's a lot of great stuff on Netflix that we absolutely love. And there's also a ton of schlock and a ton of shit. And especially these days where they want to corner every market and they're like, here's all the holiday movies. Here's all this. This is weird. This is a weird thing for them to do, to decide not to air this show at all.
all right.
And they're they said, because they don't own it, unlike Batgirl, they're not putting it in a vault and saying you'll never, ever, ever see it. The producers are allowed to shop it. I feel like someone will buy. Yeah. Again, I don't know how much money needs to be put into finish effects and stuff like that, but I would feel like someone
have to create the Grendel out of nothing, out of CGI. The Grendel. The Andy I mistook for Andy Milonakis is Andy Mientis, I believe. That's the way I'm pronouncing his name anyhow. And he's been in a few things. He was on The Flash as Pied Piper for 5 episodes. Yes. Yeah, so he's been in things here and there. But yeah, so he's the one who spoke out and said that, hey, you know what? This sucks. So good for him for speaking up about filming an entire season of a show that won't see the light of day now. Maybe one day there'll be like a buried by streaming fest where they just air like Batgirl and this series and a whole bunch of things.
He wasn't the lead. He was not Grendel, but yeah, he was one of the cast members.
I don't even know that Grendel's the lead character. I don't even know what that means. Is it Operation Grendel? Is it Project Grendel?
He looks cool, Grendel. He's got this cool black and white Deadpool.
Is he named because of the Beowulf poem? Why is he Grendel?
I don't remember. All I remember.
You know what? This show would have told me the answers to that.
All I remember is he fought Batman, and it was a cool cover of the two of them, brawling.
All right. Well, now we'll never get that. I get. Was Michael Keaton in This Is Batman 2? Is that why everything's being canceled?
He was not. But again, this can be shopped, and I think someone will probably pick it up.
All right, here we go.
But weird. It's just a weird. I saw someone tweet about this that like. A show, a writer who's been a showrunner, I'm forgetting who, was like that. It's never felt like, usually you felt like, oh, we're filming our thing, we made it, people will see this, and now that's not. And again, some people were conflating this. I saw some people conflating this with like a pilot being passed on, which is such a different thing than like we filmed an entire season. And while it's not unprecedented, it's happened in history. It seems like now more than ever it can happen, and that's weird.
It is weird. It's odd. It's off-putting. I don't like it. Okay, so thanks everyone for listening to our podcast and subscribing, either listening to it on Apple or joining one of our Patreon tiers, where for the lower tier you can get a commercial-free version of the podcast, or for the higher tier, the Hudson Hawk tier, you can get the commercial-free versions of the podcast plus bonus episodes. We've got Avatar coming up for you, and then we also, of course, obviously in a few weeks, have Halloween Ends coming up for you for the bonus eps, and which is why we were doing this franchise to begin with, not just because we like horror and Halloween and stuff.
I mean, this is
what we were timing it for this movie.
Yes.
Yeah. It just so happens that it's one that's still actually happening, like Chucky, where there's new product being made. So. And then you can write into us at weenjoypodcast@gmail.com, or write to us over on Patreon, which a lot of people do, or you can find us on Twitter at the Matt Fowler and the Eric Goldman, or the podcast at We Enjoy Podcast on the Twitter machine. And this email, actually, through the Gmail, comes to us from Curtis. Curtis, your email is very long, so I'm not going to read it all out loud because I'm very sleepy, but he basically revisited Halloween 2. Now I'm talking about the second Halloween 2, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. Okay. And basically he was just watching the Rob Zombie films, and he remembered it very differently than it actually was. He thought there was way more ghost horses than there were. Like, he remembered there being a lot more dead moms and ghost horses than
there's a healthy amount, though.
He wonders if Rob Zombie had a sort of an obsession with horses at the time, because there was an album called Educated Horses, And the video for Foxy Foxy, one of the songs off the album, had a lot of horses in it. So he was this was Rob Zombie's horse phase.
There's horse girls and there's horse zombies.
And there's Rob Zombie's horse phase.
Yeah.
And then he also liked the theatrical ending that he watched on Peacock like I did. He preferred it to the alternate ending that he went and searched on the internet and watched. He liked it much
While
better.
I prefer the director's cut ending, I also just don't think this is a good movie, so I'm not going to fight about it.
No, you have to pick one, Eric. You have to pick one.
And you have to be very all in, and you want to fight, and you want to.
I still have not Googled that. I still have not actively looked up the alternate ending. You've described it to me. Mm-hmm. I think I saw a screenshot, in Google Images of Michael's face, basically Tyler Mane's face.
Yeah.
Because during a random Michael Myers search. But yeah, that's all.
And he's lit by the helicopter, so it looks like he's in a rock video. Like he's it's like a Soundgarden video, and he's like,
"Are you ready to rock?" And then Curtis ends it by wanting to know what our thoughts on regarding cool merchandise for shitty horror movies. Specifically, they have a cool looking throw blanket at Hot Topic based on Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers he's had his eye on. I love the Halloween franchise in general, and the blanket looks cool, but God damn it, that movie is so bad. What say you, Eric? I feel like you'd get it.
Here's fun fact. Matt has seen my wall of toys with my Hot Toys and my Sideshow figures and all that. My Michael Myers 12-inch figure is from Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers, because that was the first cool Michael figure they made. And it looked pretty good. And even though it was from that movie, I did buy it. Since then, they've made one for the first movie, but I didn't want to have two, so I only have my Halloween 6 one.
You don't want to have two and then make them kiss
and make them make out. And I've got a Cult of Thorn pin, and I've joked but not joked that I should get that as a tattoo. So anyway, I've talked a lot about this. Like when you were into these franchises, you eventually fully embrace them. And this goes for all of them. Like Friday 13th, I used to say oh, 5 is so bad, and now I love 5, and it's a bad movie, but I love it. So I wouldn't say that about Halloween 6. I don't love it, even though I know people who really like it now. But
it's kind of like the over in the fast food side of things, like people who love Jack in the Box tacos, which are bad tacos, but people love them even though they know they're bad. It's the same thing. Yeah.
All which is to say, yes, there's go for it.
Do whatever you want. You know what? We all go around once. We get one try at this thing. Get the fucking blanket. But
also, we also live in this funny time where all this stuff has become merchandisable, and they've realized, that it's that there's this ongoing audience for this. It's also funny. Halloween is a series in particular where the copyright to the different movies are held by multiple companies. So it's Universal merches out Halloween 2. But then Halloween 6 has a different owner, and that gets merged out. So then you get this weird sort of competing stuff. Did you see my tweet the other day, Matt, about
Adam Scott and his wigs from the Hellraiser movie?
About the Evil Dead poster in a screener I was watching?
No.
Just a tangent here, but talking about the realization of the cult audience and that you can profit from them, and that would be me. Just that it was a funny thing that I'd thought about, and then I believe on Gorley and Russ, a podcast I mentioned I like, who with guys who have very similar temperaments as us. They mentioned,
are we gonna have to fight them at some point?
We're gonna have to fight them. No, they mentioned the exact thing I'd been thinking when I can't remember what movie they were watching, which is when movies have teenagers have posters that don't really make sense because the filmmakers like those posters, but there's a very specific thing that happens in movies set in the 80s, and there's 2 movies that they're most guilty of them doing this, which is having kids in the 80s in movies have posters for Evil Dead and or The Thing, because it's early. It's too early for those posters to be readily available for these kids to be part of the cult of those movies. Is my thing. That's for a kid to have an Evil Dead poster in the 80s, it means he's seen Evil Dead, he liked Evil Dead, and he could find a poster for Evil Dead. All three of those things are unlikely, which is always to say I watched a screener for an upcoming program, which I'm under embargo for, but a kid in the 90s had an Evil Dead poster and it made me feel good because that felt more right.
Yeah, that
It's
felt
like,
better.
this is by the 90s. Now they were realizing, oh, Evil Dead is a thing we can sell posters for.
All right. Well, just let me know when we have to fight these guys and what the location is.
Totally.
Okay. What is your good thing to enjoy this week?
I'm going back into my physical media corner, mixing in with just like a movie I love and just want to recommend, which is the new 4K for Real Genius that just came out. A movie that I know we've mentioned in passing on this.
Maybe we have. There's a chance we haven't, but yeah.
I feel like it would have at least come up in some modicum of it. I do think this is a very funny 4K to even exist, though, because as we're seeing studios put out like 4Ks of all these things, they're turning to the obvious things to do them for, which is like real like visual movies and sci-fi. Like Event Horizon just got a 4K, and even though that movie was like not seen as a hit when it came out, it's like a sci-fi movie with a lot of visual stuff to it, so it makes sense and it's got a cult following. Real Genius is a seen as like a teen comedy from the 80s, even though there's a little bit other thing happening in it. Anyway, I think a lot of people have seen Evil Teen Genius. I just merged together Evil Dead Real Genius, but not as many say. I am curious how many people, because there are certain movies from the 80s I know multi-generations have seen, like Back to the Future. It's like,
well, so yeah, we're getting to like Real Genius is a mid-card 80s movie that's still like, obviously I love it, you love it, but it's like not one of the ones that first comes to mind when you think of 80s teen comedies. Obviously the John Hughes movies come out first, and then other things like you mentioned, Indiana Jones and Back to the Future and stuff like that. But this is for wrestling fans, this is a mid-carder. Yeah,
it's a mid-carder that I really love, and I actually saw it a few months ago at the New Beverly. I mean, I've seen it a million times. It was a cable favorite growing up, but watching it again a few months ago in the theater really solidified again how well done it is and how much I liked it. And this 4K, which is funny because it does look really good. And I didn't realize that the cinematographer of this movie is Vimos Sigmund. Am I saying his name right? The cinematographer of Close Encounters. Did Real Genius, and it actually looks a lot better than a lot of like mid 80s teen comedies. But also thinking that Real Genius stands out, which is I don't want to dig into the plot here too much, except to say it's about kids at a school for scientific geniuses through the eyes of like a 15-year-old prodigy who is sent to this school, and his roommate is sort of a burnout, is Val Kilmer playing the guy who was the wonder kid, but then has now kind of become a slacker, but is still a genius underneath that. Is that like, this is a movie, when people talk about this movie, often brought up, and I agree, is like, it definitely sort of celebrated smart people in a way you didn't see in the 80s. Even Revenge of the Nerds, which I did love as a kid, as problematic as fuck as that movie is now, even that movie is much more like, isn't it funny how weird and awkward they are? But in Real Genius, you don't get that. It's like they're all just the leads. When I say they, I mean like really smart characters and quote unquote like geeky characters, but it's not done through like, aren't they so weird and strange?
Yeah, they don't. There's no element of the movie where they have to like fight jocks or like or like are actually looked down upon by other students because this is their realm. So yeah,
right. There's rivalries, but it's just between geniuses. I really like the characters. I loved Jordan, which is the main character's crush, is sort of like flirtatious.
Everyone loved Jordan. Yeah,
everyone loved Jordan, who is a fascinating character to watch now because she 100% reads as a character on the spectrum in a 2022 point of view. I don't think we could articulate that in the mid 80s, but now seems like a very positive.
It wasn't until Rain Man that large audiences knew what autism was. So
right. But now she seems like this really cool progressive portrayal of that because she's just like part of the gang.
And obviously Rain Man was a very hyper specific savant take on autism. But I wanted to actually mention, because we both love Real Genius. Directed by a female director who actually had quite a career in the 80s that not a lot of people talk about, which is Martha Coolidge, who did Valley Girl and Rambling Rose and a lot of movies into the 90s even. And then also, a lot of people know William Zabka as the 80s, quintessential 80s bully, right?
Yes.
He did 3 movies, obviously Karate Kid being the most famous, but then he was the bully in Back to School and Just One of the Guys. Within like a 2 or 3 year period.
Yeah, he was the go-to
bully in these big movies. William Atherton was the quintessential authority figure asshole because of Die Hard, Ghostbusters, and this movie,
and this the middle of the trilogy.
Yes. And Real Genius. So
he is an all-time great movie asshole. He is great in this. Has the authority figure at this school for geniuses, and I don't want to dwell too much into say. I think this movie still holds up really well. The 4K looks great. It is also funny, Matt, because one of the extra features is the TV cut of the movie, complete with like full frame and covered over censor, when they would put silly words over the curses. And it's really amazing to think that's how we watched a lot of movies. But also this movie is so ripe for a streaming service reboot. Because if you've never seen Real Genius, there is an interesting conceit to what is happening, what they're actually building at this school and why they're building it and who is kind of manipulating them, that feels very like, oh, I could see the 8-episode streaming service version of this.
This is a conspiracy thing that can go beyond the regular teenage or college age story. And I also want to throw in about Real Genius too, is one of the things, and I don't know if we talked about it, but like Val Kilmer, when he started his movie career, did like comedies until Top Gun, and then he just did dramas forever. And I feel like I didn't see him in a comedy again until Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. Like he is such a good comedic actor,
so funny,
and he never got to do it because he was in dramas. And so I'm talking about this movie and Top Secret, and very different performances too, because this one is more of like a Van Wilder style, like fun campus dude, and Top Secret is a Zucker Brothers, so they're playing it safe. They're playing it, sorry, not safe, but straight.
I know what you meant. Yeah,
they're playing it straight. They're like, he's playing it straight amongst the silliness. Where he plays sort of an Elvis style, like teen heartthrob who gets caught up in a spy conspiracy. But yeah, it's very this is definitely one, if you only know Val Kilmer from his dramatic work. I guess Tombstone was a little both, right?
It was a little bit, it rode the line, but it is funny that this movie, Real Genius, was a year before Top Gun, so it really shows like this sort of insta shift your career can have. Because if he hadn't done Top Gun, it's like, you could envision him doing a bunch more wacky.
He would have just done a lot of zany comedies, of course. Real Genius. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, my pick this week is a series that is still happening. It just debuted last week with 3 episodes on Hulu, and I think it releases every Tuesday, so it should be 4 by now. I've only seen the first 3, and so I haven't caught the 4th yet. All in all, this could end in fire. This could be shit. But so far, it's very funny. It's called Reboot, and it is exactly what you think it is. It is some
people will think it's a remake of the 90s animated series.
Oh, really? What was that about?
I never seen it. I just know Donald Glover really loved it because he told me once on the set of Community how much he loved it.
All right. Well, this is better than that. I don't know.
It was a very early CG cartoon. Like if you look it up, they look scary because it's like that mid-90s cartoon with CG characters.
This show was created by Stephen Levitan, who most recently did a lot of sitcom work for decades until landing a huge, basically struck gold with Modern Family. Which
I was going to say, and I'm sure made millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah, so
like that. Yeah.
And has an all-star cast, and it is about a streaming service, this time Hulu playing itself, Hulu playing itself on Hulu, sort of parodying itself as a streaming service that is trying to get more into the reboot game in the vein of like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air on Peacock and Saved by the Bell on Peacock, or Fuller House or something, or reviving old beloved sitcoms for their service. And this is a early 2000s sitcom called Step Right Up. So it's a fictional sitcom that they are rebooting for Hulu. And the original cast comes back, played by Keegan-Michael Key and Johnny Knoxville and the great Judy Greer. which is relevant to our main event today.
It is. Yeah.
The great Judy Greer, who, man, she's so good. And it is being basically, they're looking for a sort of a darker, more independent, edgy take on the old sitcom goofiness. So Rachel Bloom of My Crazy Ex-Girlfriend comes in as sort of a indie film screenwriter who convinces them to go in a darker direction, but then who comes on board, the original creator, played by Paul Reiser, who just wants it to be silly sitcom stuff, traditional, you set up punchline sitcom stuff, and they clash over that. And there's more reasons why those two don't get along. I won't get into. There's a lot of funny stuff. I thought the first 3 episodes were very, very funny, and everyone is really doing a great job. It's just mean enough to work, but not too mean, because when Hollywood parodies itself, and when sort of the business shines a light on itself and tries to act like, oh, look at all these shitty people making all these shitty things, it can, a lot of the comedy gets lost, and sometimes nobody wants to watch that. This plays the line, I think, pretty perfectly as far as the balance between it being a sitcom itself and it being sort of kind of lightly scathing, skewering of the business, but not too much. I think it works really well. I thought it was very funny.
I want to check it out because I like all those people. Hoping to. I did sit in on the virtual TCA panel for this, and they talked to Paul Reiser was talking about that he did the Mad About You reboot, so he's actually lived this.
Yeah, he's done the reboot that's being sort of mocked on Reboot,
right?
That type of thing where you get brought back.
Notably, of course, as we've mentioned sometimes when we're recommending where to watch these things, is that Hulu doesn't exist outside the US and 1 or 2 other countries. And so almost anything Hulu, I'm assuming this show included, is on Disney Plus overseas, because that's just where it is.
So for them, is it
like Taco Bell and Pizza Hut and Demolition Man? Do they say Disney Plus?
Or do like the sitcom Step Right Up, which doesn't exist? Do people just think Hulu is also
that's a silly
streaming
name
service?
They came up for.
Who would name a streaming service Hulu? What a world we live in. Okay, so
we don't have to go into any details about this, but I went mad this morning, Matt, because I read back to back that Stars Play streaming service overseas, because Stars is a streaming service overseas. I think they have it here too.
Oh, it's going to be Lionsgate Plus.
Lionsgate Plus, and that then there's another streaming service that's already here. Oh, Epix. Is it Epix or I think it's Epix. Anyway, they're renaming MGM Plus. I was like, just Jesus Christ, stop it. Stop.
I don't like any of it. All right, let's get into the main event. Next week's main event obviously is the follow-up to 2018's Halloween, which is Halloween Kills, which you can rent or buy or just watch on HBO Max if you have that service.
Fascinatingly, I guess not fascinatingly, I think it just sign of the weird times, not on Peacock, even though it debuted on Peacock the day it opened in theaters,
which Halloween Ends will as well.
Yeah, but I've noted, this has happened with a lot of the things, not Disney, they locked their shit down, but a lot of the movies that debuted day and date with their theatrical release in the past couple of years, as that became a thing, have not stuck around in the streaming service. And I wonder, when they make those very late decisions, how much they're still locked into other deals. And so it's okay, well, we'll have it exclusively for a month or two, but then it has to still go somewhere else after that. But just odd.
All right, let's get into our main event, Judy Greer's Halloween, as I like to call it.
Karen.
Karen's Halloween. It's a very Karen Halloween.
She's wearing a Christmas sweater.
I think named Karen by I did dig a little into what happened in between Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 and this movie.
Oh, because I was going to talk about that as well. Yeah.
Okay, well, you can too, obviously. But just the fact that this was the longest time we'd ever gone without a Halloween movie and without seeing Michael Myers. And there were a lot of stop starts and a lot of ideas that were floating around. Some of them were crazy ideas. Speaking of crazy ideas, Eric, I saw Barbarian. That's a crazy movie.
It is. Did you like it though?
I did like it. Like it. It's a crazy movie. It's the crazy movie that you can enjoy, not a crazy movie that you leave confounded. So yeah, like obviously there was a plan for a follow-up almost too soon after Halloween 2
Yeah, we
that
talked
just
about
fell
that last
apart.
week. That was gonna
Yeah,
try
and
to
then
film right
there was
away.
the idea because of Paranormal Activity success of making the next Halloween a found footage movie.
Hmm.
There was a really cool one. Tom Adkins' name was brought up as being a psychiatrist in Laurie's sanitarium.
Tom Atkins was going to be in the Todd Farmer, that the one we the
Yeah.
that sequel, because again they were using a lot of people they'd already worked with, and he was in My Bloody Valentine 3D and he'd done
Yeah,
stuff
but
like that.
obviously also we talked about him in Halloween 3.
And they were gonna
Season of the
have a
Witch.
moment where the Silver Shamrock commercial is playing and he's like, well, someone turn that thing off.
I can't stand it. He's like, this again. What?
Right. No.
And then yeah, so basically it all sort of wrapped around back to John Carpenter deciding he wanted to once again produce a Halloween movie and do it right. Like, why not re-embrace what I ditched back with Halloween, basically since Halloween 3.
Well, can I fill in a couple other gaps
Yeah,
there?
yeah, go for it.
Just say that I very quickly run through these again. Read Taking Shape to everyone, well, both of them, because they're very interesting. But after they ditched the idea of any sequels to the Rob Zombie one, bunch of other things, they flirted with having Platinum Dunes produce with Dimension. Platinum Dunes, of course, being kind of king of the remakes with Chainsaw Massacre, Friday 13th, Elm Street, and Amityville Horror at this period. That didn't happen. There was a lot of like, let's completely reboot again, but just be almost like, it's like Batman, like, the story, now we're going to go in a different direction with it. Like there was one that was like, what if Michael Myers was kidnapped as a little kid along with his friend, and now something happens with a killer in a mask coming back years later. The one I want to just mention briefly though, because it was crazy, but also ahead of its time, was a pitch for a trilogy, a reboot trilogy that would have been definitely leaning into supernatural, because it would have been a whole thing about like sort of like the writer of the book just says it almost sounds like the Upside Down, although this is before Stranger Things, and kind of how it's described, like kind of this like dark world that well, I say Michael, but there was no Michael. There was only going to be the Shape, like a killer in a mask. There was no Michael Myers, even though other characters, there's Loomis and Laurie Strode, but it's completely like a total reinterpretation of it all. And that one, in the third and final movie, was going to have a sequence where Loomis, who is our kind of hero through the whole thing, was going to see through into this veil, to this other realm, into this dark thing, and that the Shape being this kind of avatar of darkness, and he was going to see scenes from Halloween 1978, Halloween 4, Rob Zombie's Halloween, and it was going to be the multiverse of Michael. And so they were ahead of the game on like both like multiverse mania, but even the fact that Halloween was going to become even more of a crazy multiple timeline series. So I thought that was funny.
They were ahead of the game with a very bad idea.
With a crazy idea. And then after that, Dimension finally lost the rights, which is to say Miramax finally stopped leasing them out to them again. And then someone, I don't know if you've ever met, Matt, but I know pretty well, Ryan Turek, who used to be
I know of him. I don't know.
Okay.
Him. Yeah.
Ryan used to be an entertainment journalist like Matt and I, except he was exclusively on the horror beat. Shock Till You Drop, that's who he used to write for. He used to cover Halloween Horror Nights with me and a bunch of different stuff. He changed careers to work for Dimension, and he's now produced a bunch of their stuff. And if you look in the credits of I say Dimension, Blumhouse, not Dimension, Blumhouse. He went to work for Blumhouse, produced a bunch of their stuff, and he is the one who went to Jason Blum and said we should go after Halloween, and got Jason Blum to do that. And then Jason Blum went to meet with Carpenter and said, I want to do this with you. Someone will make Halloween with or without us, but I only want to do it with you, and convince Carpenter to finally kind of come back as like a godfather on the project, not writing and directing, but godfather it, score it, be involved as an executive producer. And I'll just say at this point, it's very funny to watch the opening credits, because you've got Trancas, which is the Akkad's company, who've been there since the beginning. You've got Miramax, who've had the rights since the 90s when Miramax was under Disney. You've got Blumhouse, who've come in to produce these new movies, and you have Universal who's actually distributing the thing. So there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen at this point. But here we go.
And then this is also a movie where we touched on it last week, but like this new realm, including Barbarian, which just came out a few weeks ago, of comedians, people who are prominently doing comedic work, either performing or writing or directing comedies, crossing over into the horror realm. And the most successful of them are David Gordon Green with this Halloween movie, and then Jordan Peele, with Nope,
with a
and
whole
then
career
reinvention. Yeah. And then so this is it's a fascinating thing, and I love to see it. Like, as far as like it's the new version of comedic actors winning Oscars for drama, right? Like, where it's like they always say drama's easy, dying's easy, comedy's hard, right? Is the phrase, which is to say, like, yeah, Robin Williams is a clown, but then he could act the shit out of a dramatic scene and win an Oscar for Good Will Hunting, and that's happened a couple times. And or Tom Hanks is a huge part of that too, as far as winning an Oscar for Philadelphia after starring in nothing but comedies throughout the 80s, really.
Right, but getting his first Oscar nomination for Big, which was a comedy, but let him kind of show a more like sensitive side than he'd done in his other stuff.
So now the cool new thing is for people who make us laugh, now make us jump and scream, and it's kind of their thing. But with notably, their movies are more interesting, and the dialogue is a little more cracking, and there's elements of it that show you that there's a cleverness in them that doesn't exist. It wouldn't have existed if it didn't come from somebody from a comedic realm. Then it fell on, so Danny McBride, who's the front-facing performer of this group, who's not in any of these movies so far, is just writing it, because he is a writer and creator as well, most notably with the things he's in, like Eastbound and Down and Righteous Gemstones, stuff like that. And David Gordon Green, who is a director who is sort of helming this with now Carpenter in the background, sort of overseeing everything. But yeah, David Gordon Green also comes from Eastbound and Down, and then Red Oaks and Vice Principals, which also starred Danny McBride. And what movies has he done? Oh, Pineapple Express was the big one.
Which Danny McBride is in. And then two other things of note we should mention here going into this movie is that one is that once again, this movie coming out, as we mentioned with other Halloween movies, but this movie coming out at a time where slasher movies are kind of dormant again, and certainly any of the big name ones have. Friday 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street had one and done reboots. Friday 13th has been notoriously had legal issues the past few years with like lawsuits. Chucky at this point was like straight to video. At least they were making them. The TV show hadn't begun yet. We hadn't gotten the Candyman reboot. Chainsaw Massacre had been kind of in a weird place. So it was like Halloween was coming out at a time when we weren't getting like the big name, and Scream hadn't come back.
And so that's the thing, is that Scream just came back. So yeah, it would be 4 years after this movie that Scream returns. But Scream actually makes a comment, like the fact that like one of the main characters in that movie like really likes the Babadook, kind of is a comment on like where like the A24 horror that sort of took over the last decade,
but
with
Scream,
stuff
of
like
course, also
Hereditary and The Witch and stuff like that.
Scream happening, of course, coming back, is influenced by Halloween's huge success. This movie's huge success. It's always confusing with the damn title. And then also, of course, the decision to not just reboot the timeline again. This
is a curious decision. What they have chosen to do, and it went through a lot of different ideas. We won't go through all of them, but they decided ultimately that they were going to make a sequel just to the first movie, as if everything that came after the first movie did not exist. And the idea that this guy stalking Laurie for no reason. Again, if you watch the first Halloween movie, it seems like it's just happenstance. She's the first person who catches his eye because she walks up on the porch. It could have been anyone else who walked up on the porch. It could have been Lonnie. It could have been somebody just fucking around with the Myers house, but was way scarier than finding out that that's actually his sister and he's going after her because they're family, because that humanizes him. That made him more like, oh, this is a person with actually, siblings. So this was taking it back to the eeriness of not knowing why he's actually targeting people at all. And they even though they make a joke about it in the movie, they ditch the lore about Laurie Strode being being adopted by the Strodes and actually being Michael Myers' sister.
And so, I mean, think about how, I mean, every Halloween movie had been so built on the bones of Halloween 2 and that reveal. Whether Jamie Lee Curtis was in it or not, whether it was the Cult of Thorn trilogy, whether it was
because Jamie Lloyd was still her family, and and I also read that there was an element where it was considered that actually Laurie's daughter in this movie would be Jamie. Like grown up, the role that Judy Greer plays as Karen would have been a sort of the Jamie role of her being raised like John Connor was, like, you know, in a survivalist element, and then they just decided to do a different character. But it's such an interesting thing, like you said, like that everything is built on that one actual plot thread from Halloween 2 that Laurie Strode doesn't even learn by the end of the movie. So and by the way, as an aside, I've tweeted before how much I want Danielle Harris, Josh Hartnett, and Judy Greer to team up in a Children of Laurie Strode multiverse movie. But also, there's just the fact that this movie is coming out for the 40th anniversary of the original, and we'll talk about how much this is similar to and is not similar and not similar. There's definitely ways it is to H2O, and so it's like once again, it's like, hey, we have a big anniversary. Let's get Jamie Lee Curtis back. She is so much like a face of this franchise, along with Michael Myers. It's like, and there's no other horror franchise that has that caliber of quote unquote final girl leading lady. It's amazing, that she's been involved in this long. So they bring her back, but of course they goddamn Halloween Resurrection had killed her, even if they wanted to return that to that timeline. You would get another reboot, but then one that is finally, just like freed of the shackles of the sibling thing, which had just been the complete basis for everything that happened. It's interesting to note that so Halloween H2O, obviously Jamie Lee Curtis returned for that. This movie deals with Laurie's trauma, just like H2O did, but they're in very different ways. Like H2O, she changed her identity, got a very high profile job, which was very strange for somebody who's going by a different name. And but is obviously sees Michael in reflections, has a drinking problem, has a strained relationship with her son. There's elements there of like her not being able to let go of the past and being traumatized by. And remember, this Laurie just went through two movies of hell. One night, 2 movies, multiple body counts, stalked by Michael in 2 different locations. So this is a much
coming for her.
Yeah, he kept coming for her, but she also knows it's her brother and all that stuff. So it's an interesting thing to see. Both movies, though, also really do hinge on like a physical altercation showdown, as Halloween Ends does too, by the way, from the teasers that we've seen. Of these two just fucking fighting each other to the death. So it happened in H2O, it's happening again, but this time it's a much different Laurie. It's also funny that I mentioned in the movie that they sort of call out like, wasn't he your sister? And it's like, that's just some bullshit people made up. There's also a call out by, I can't remember which character, Dave, who talks about like he basically brings up the low body count of the first movie, right? Compared to all the movies that followed it.
Because without Halloween 2, without the fact that this guy went to a hospital after and killed most of the staff, and it's just
he
the
killed
3 teenagers,
2 babysit. He killed 3 teenagers.
And the mechanic along the, because they say his body count is 5 in total. Judith,
right? But who's to say anyone ever finds that mechanic?
Well, no, he is accounted for because they say he has that. They say he killed 5 people, and then mechanic will be part of that 5.
So it's basically like it's not just in the slasher era of the early 80s, but even in movies nowadays, it's like, you've killed 3 or 4 people in a movie, that's not a big deal. And so it's like, what's the big deal? Like, why is she so traumatized, or what's happening? Like, it wasn't like a huge thing. But anyway, we're really invested in a very different take on Laurie's now, 40 years later, what she's been like By the way, she's gone through 2 husbands, much like Rob Zombie's Dr. Loomis.
Yeah, but the big flip here from H2O, because yes,
well, Rob Zombie's, I guess he went through 2 wives, but maybe what if it was 2 husbands? Who knows?
The big flip here from H2O, because they are both ultimately about, Laurie Strode, PTSD, having to face her fears and her, physically face Michael again. But the Laurie Strode of H2O having built the life, being like literally a functional alcoholic, versus this Laurie who is complete mess. Her kid was taken away from her, breaks down in public in a restaurant,
but it's
just
interesting,
not able to function.
But think of this too: the H2O Laurie Strode, nobody found Michael's body.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So there's this like horrible element just looming around her. Like, is he alive? Will he ever come for me again? What's happening? Whereas this Laurie Strode is, you could argue, way more damaged than H2O's Laurie Strode, because she's not able to even function with her family and society. This guy's locked up. There's really no reason she should think that he is going to come. Yet she has set up her whole house as a trap for him. Like it's a whole deal where should the day come that he ever gets out, she's prepared. And so this Laurie Strode is more traumatized by fewer bodies, basically by the first movie and dealing with him in the closet and the terrorists and all that stuff. So but it still works. So I just want to say, blanket statement here, this movie is really good. I like it so much. This is a movie where after a long stretch, they got a Halloween movie fucking right, and it's it's really good. I've watched it a couple times. I think it holds up with rewatches. I really like the dynamic of all the characters, and it's sort of weird to say that this Laurie Strode has more in common with the Laurie Strode at the beginning of Halloween Resurrection than any other Laurie Strode, because as far as like a fully damaged, psychologically damaged Laurie just waiting for Michael to show up because she's got a trap for him, right? Like that's the beginning of Halloween Resurrection. Okay.
But there's a lot of, and it's inevitable, and I think some are probably purposeful and some aren't. Like, I don't think they were meaning to, I don't think they're like, let's reference Halloween Resurrection. But they're
no. That was just something I noticed in our franchise.
But but also saying that a series that's been around as long as this one, has done as many reboots as this one, is inevitably going to have echoes, sometimes purposeful homages. And it's like, yes, of course you're going to think of H2O. There are definitely some echoes of Halloween 4 and things that happen in this. And there are some echoes of Rob Zombie's Halloween in this.
Yes, there are.
So it's a funny, it kind of all coalesces in a movie that I think, is very well done.
Okay. So we start with basically Smith's Grove, and we're in the, to keeping true to the era. Our entryway into this story are podcasters, or should we say like radio hosts,
characters we can relate to,
of a serial,
lovable.
Basically off of the back of like something like Serial or other NPR true crime podcasts or radio shows. That's who these journalists are from overseas, who really want to follow up on Michael Myers. So they go to Smith's Grove.
Just as a quick aside, though, I want to say the first thing we begin with this movie is the return of the original Halloween font. The original, just to say hey guys, we're really going back to the original. Like we're
I even have written here, what is it? Old Orange font is what I write. So
I put original font.
Old Orange, original, it's all the same. It's all great. And then we got them basically going to Smith's Grove to try to talk to Michael Myers, who, plot device wise, usually is on the verge of being transferred.
It's October 30th. And there's nothing
better than to transfer a giant maniac on Halloween. It's just inevitable. It's inevitable, like Thanos. So
and I do have questions here, because he's going to be transferred to Glass Hill, which we are told by Sartain, although Sartain is not a reliable person, the pit of hell. But also, Michael in the original was being transferred away from Smith's Grove, but now we learned he was put back in Smith's Grove. So was Glass Hill where he was being put, where he was supposed to go. Why didn't they put him in the place he was going to be transferred? Why did he end up back?
Maybe am I completely wrong? Is that he wasn't being transferred in the first movie? He was being taken to like a court appointment, even though he hasn't spoken.
Transfer, because they say something about it's the law. It's a little weird because it's like, oh, he's 21. It's the law. Like now we have to transfer him. But yeah, I'm not quite.
All right. So does that mean everyone in that place is a teenager? That doesn't make any sense.
No, I know. It's a little. It's always been a little unclear. All I know is they like to transfer him on October.
So Dr. Sartain is the new guy. He says he studied under Loomis, basically since he's been Michael's main psychiatrist and keeper for I would assume decades at this point.
He requested to be Michael's doctor. He lobbied state of Illinois. Also, I did clock that the first time we see Sartain, this time I clocked that there's a close-up of his pen and a strange bone clip, like it's weird looking bone clip.
So he's Cult of Thorn is what you're saying. Yeah, so it's fine.
We'll talk about that later.
So yeah, he's Samuel Loomis's former student, and he basically gives the rundown about Michael Myers. He still hasn't spoken in 40 years now that he's been cooped up. We don't know anything at this point, and we won't for a while, actually, about how that night ended, because that was the big thing about the first Halloween movie, is that he wasn't caught, right? Like nothing came of that. But here he is back in Smith's Grove, so something happened.
Well, this is the first time. It's actually a couple things I caught this time I had never caught. There is a direct line in this movie, Matt, that I hadn't caught before, that Hawkins stopped Loomis from killing Michael. That not only
no. I'm saying we again, we don't know how Michael got caught. We know that line.
Yeah.
We don't know how that night ended, though.
Right.
We don't know how he got back into locked up again.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how did they stop?
Go to the hospital.
How did they stop him? How did it happen? Yeah. This is this unstoppable killing machine. How did it? No one blew up a room, right? Like, right. So what happened? That's still it'll be sort of just a sort of background radiation mystery for us. Mm-hmm. Then also an interesting element here, which is that the male of this duo. I don't know their names. I forget. Basically walks up to the yellow line in a very, very sort of Bond villain layers type style of like keeping either prisoners. It looks like a giant checkerboard.
I like that.
And they're all surrounded by yellow lines that in like a square around them of like, this is as far as like they can't get you if you're beyond this line. He holds up the Michael Myers mask that he got from a friend at the ADA's office, and holds it up to say he's trying to get him to talk. Basically, everyone in this movie wants Dr. Sartain, the podcasters, they all want Michael to say something. They want him to speak.
Because Sartain makes it clear he can speak if he wants to, he just won't. Yeah.
And so they think like basically putting him in a room with Laurie Strode or getting them to do an interview together will get him to talk. But yeah, so he's like, does this mask mean anything to you? And Michael either the whole commotion sets the other inmates off, or Michael sends out some supernatural like power that like stokes the sort of like the patients around him into sort of a frenzy.
Because the guy takes the mask out, Michael won't react, but everyone else
does, as if they're his tendrils. So it's a creepy, effective moment, though I do question how much allegiance Michael would have to that mask. Now, the mask is very important to us as fans, and obviously is important to Michael in all the other timelines because he's worn it so much. But we're talking about a guy who wore it one night 40 years ago.
Yeah, he likes the mask.
But it's like, I'm just saying, like, as I wouldn't expect it to get him to talk. That's all I'm saying. Like, if it was a different Michael Myers in a different multiverse, I would think he'd have a more of attachment to it than this Michael Myers.
And I want to mention, our newest Michael Myers here, and this and who will become the first actor to play him in 3 movies, James Jude Courtney, who purposefully we never see his face fully. We see it kind of shadowy, the side of it, mirrors distorted. But I like that he's a stunt man, and he's like age appropriate, like he's 65 right now, so he's like the right age to be playing Michael Myers, but seems like a tough, formidable guy. And also we get glimpses. We see he has the scar in his neck and his eye is fucked up from what Laurie did to him in the first, like the hanger and getting stabbed. Like, that he has some permanent injuries from that.
And then original shape Nick Castle will do a few little fun bits and bobs for the movie, as far as like seeing his face in the window and doing some of the original breathing sounds and stuff.
He plays. They always make sure he plays Michael in one scene in each of these movies. Yeah.
Okay, so something to mention now, but sort of table. This movie is based off of just the first movie. It's a sequel to the first movie, in which we're not led to believe there's anything supernatural going on with Michael, except that he nicely pairs up with like a boogeyman story that's being told between babysitter and babysitty, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not like he is the embodiment of evil, even though that's what like Loomis, that's his sort of the line he toes. That's sort of the Loomis speak of it all. He doesn't come off as, he's tough. He's slasher movie unkillable, but there's nothing immortal about Michael Myers in the original Halloween necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
Like he got up after being shot, but that doesn't mean that he's not injured and can't be killed if shot enough. Like there's nothing to suggest that. So going into this movie, this is the same Michael Myers from that movie, The Shape.
Yeah.
And we're going to see what this movie's take is on all of that, because we have seen it go all different directions, from Rob Zombie insisting that he's just a fucked up kid who kills people because of his upbringing, and then to change his mind in the next movie almost and introduce supernatural sort of telepathic elements in a weird way, to full supernatural shit happening throughout the first timeline of the movie.
Yeah.
To him actually being maybe mortal, and us thinking his head got cut off, but it was really a switchback, Eric, a switchback, a paramedic switchback. What will this movie's Michael Myers be? How indestructible will he be? What can he endure and still keep going? Will it pass a weird breaking point where they will have to make it supernatural, or else it doesn't make sense? So we'll discuss this as these movies go on. Okay. So, so nothing from Michael. He totally ices them out. He's like, fuck you. I hate NPR. And he's not saying anything. And then basically he's screaming, say something, and it cuts to the title. So we get the original music. We get the cool visual of the crushed, decaying pumpkin coming back to life as we get in closer and closer.
Recreating the original looking pumpkin. And we even get, like we were talking about, the font and everything. Like everything is the original style, down to like starring Jamie Lee Curtis as Laurie, like the way that movie did, like, put the character names and stuff, which is not obviously something you always see in films.
And we've got the two journalists going to a gated compound that has like the gate, the security cameras, the intercoms, the full schmagegi, and basically offering Laurie Strode $3,000 for an interview, or for a moment of her time. And so basically now we meet Laurie out of the gate. We don't know anything else about her life, except that she lives sort of a reclusive life far away, and hyper security with, multiple door locks and a bar that she puts in front of things. Again, he is locked up. So this is just sort of like speaks to how shattered she is. And even this many decades later, and hasn't sought the treatment and the help that she needed. Buried herself into something completely different.
Yeah, she is kind of this like doomsday prepper Laurie, living in this like sort of cabin, and as we'll see, just like training weapons, just only fixated. Even though the Laurie in H2O is like, I knew he'd come back one day, like this Laurie certainly wasn't going to be running a boarding school, because
this Laurie
entire life
couldn't hold down a relationship, couldn't keep her daughter, who got taken away by child services when she was 12, could not function in society in a productive, meaningful way, like just completely much less become the headmistress of a esteemed private school in Northern California.
Right.
So to the point where pretty soon from now at this moment, like she's the one that her granddaughter sees outside the school window. Like in place of Michael is now
lots of fun
the fucked up
parallels like
other
that.
half of this coin, right?
And Allison says her by the way, it drives me absolutely fucking crazy that she calls her grandmother. I do not understand that.
Just the full grandmother.
Yeah. But Allison has the line to her friend saying like, it's pretty much all she talks about. It defines her life. This fucked her up.
To
for
pay
life.
people who make one thing their whole personality.
We get it. This
we
guy
get
killed
it.
Your friends.
You like
to kill
horror.
You.
You're spooky. Okay. So and then basically through this little brief exchange before she kicks them out the door, we learn that she lost custody of her daughter, which then leads us into the Nelson household. Nelson, right? Like to the great, wonderful, evanescent, luminous Judy Greer and luminousness, Jimmy Greer, and the wonderful Toby Huss, who has been in a ton of things and is delightful in a what's a Joe Carnahan directed movie that came out a few years ago called Cop Shop. I think just last year, actually. Very funny as a hitman in Cop Shop.
I'll always love him for Adventures of Pete and Pete, where he played Artie, the strongest man in the world. But he's great, very funny. And although it's just funny, I was thinking about the timeline of just this reality, and that I guess we have to think that both Lori and Karen had to have had their respective daughters very young, because it's been 40 years. But there's been like 2 generations of girls. Lori was 17. Now she's had a daughter who's a grown woman who has a 17-year-old daughter. But also, we have to kind of think about like, oh, well, her husband is older than her because her husband went to school with Lonnie, who was like, a kid that would have been the age of the kids that Lori was babysitting. It's just like none of it's impossible, by the way. It's not like none of this couldn't happen. It's just like trying to think about how this would all work ages.
He's like 7 or 8 years older than Karen. It's not the biggest age gap in the world, but it's noticeable. So it'd have to be more
than that, though, just for her to be born. And
I guess I was basing it on the actor's real age.
Because I was thinking Judy Greer has to be playing a few years younger for this to make sense.
Okay.
But also Lori would have had, again, and I think it works fine to say Lori had Karen when she was like 19 or something.
Because the sublime, superb Judy Greer is our age. So
yes.
Okay. So then we got the household, and it's a fun household. It's not, nobody's like rubbing bagels on their titties. It's not like the Rob Zombie household, but it's still a fun. It's still a fun household.
He gets peanut butter on his penis.
Yeah, like they still say like off kilter, silly things that like make you realize that this is.
I am laughing so much now, imagining these actors playing the Rob Zombie family.
I'm gonna skull fuck you.
Oh man, that would have been Jimmy Greer's line.
So yeah, well, I hope the dream, right? The dream. So Toby Huss is wonderful as Ray, and he's setting up some mouse traps. You know what, Eric? To the mice, he's Michael Myers. You know what I mean? Like he's out to kill them and their whole family. And he's the one who brings up Lonnie, because Lonnie is the father.
Yes,
of
Cameron's dad.
Cameron, who we haven't met yet, is Allison's boyfriend. Peanut butter on the penis. And then we get the whole like estranged element between Karen and Lori.
And for those who don't remember, Lonnie, he was a very minor role in the original movie, as one of Tommy's classmates, one of the taunters of Tommy, but the one that Loomis scared away when he was like, his friends were trying to goad him into going up to the Myers house, and Loomis yelled, "Lonnie, get your ass out of here."
Yeah.
So Lonnie is unseen in this movie, but mentioned often as kind of a fuck up and a guy who had wild times with Ray.
They did peyote together and all that stuff. And there's some honor society dinner or a function or event or something that she really wants grandmother to come to.
Grandmother.
But Karen lies and said she invited her, but she really didn't. And then we meet Dave and, well, actually Vicky, right? Vicky?
Yep.
The name of the boy. Vicky, played by Virginia Gardner, who was on Marvel's Runaways on Hulu for 3 seasons as Katarina. Is that her name? I can't remember the Runaways' names.
Yes.
Carolina Dean.
Carolina. I said yes.
Carolina Dean. A very different role than this. But yeah. So, and then her boyfriend Dave, as they're walking down the street. I only mention these names because we're about to meet 2 more different people that don't really, 2 other sets of friends in a way that don't cross paths with these other 2 friends. So like the only connective tissue is Allison in the middle. But yeah.
One thing I would guess Rob Zombie would appreciate is that all 3 of the teenage boys in this movie have like 70s hair, have like long 70s hair, even though it's 2018.
Yeah, he would appreciate that. He'd like that. I mean, he would probably still be complaining that no one threatened to skull fuck anyone in the past 2 minutes. But yeah,
this isn't the Haddonfield I know and love.
So yeah, it doesn't feel like it. So yeah, then we've got then we meet at the school. So we do have one babysitter element. So it's not. It's a little harkening back to the original movie. Vicky is going to babysit while others are going to a Halloween party. And that
it does seem like the kids of Haddonfield are getting to enjoy Halloween much more in this movie. There is a Halloween dance.
Well, that's the thing. It's been 40 years, right? Like they haven't been perpetually terrorized on Halloween.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying more the whole thing of like the idea in the original Halloween and this, continuing some of the other movies that like all the parents choose Halloween night
the parents
for
go
their
away.
Orgies, and the kids have to, be stuck with responsibility.
Yeah, now the shoe's on the other foot. It's the kids having the orgies, and the parents have to stay at home and get killed by Michael Myers as he walks through their house, like picking up hammers and knives. So then we've got Cameron, the boyfriend, and his friend. What's his friend's name? Oscar. Yeah. And they seem fine. They seem fun. And they're talking about a Halloween party. They keep bringing
Oscar's the wacky friend.
Bonnie and Clyde costume, but there's a twist that they won't mention to her parents, which is interesting. Like, how old-fashioned are we supposed to think Karen and Ray are? First of all, Ray's walking around just fully mentioning or boasting, humble bragging that he's got peanut butter on his penis, but also like bringing up the peyote he did and all that stuff.
I don't think it was an old-fashioned thing because I think it was just that they wanted to surprise people that they had.
Oh, okay. I thought Allison didn't want Cameron to mention the gender swapping element of their couple's costume.
I read it
because they wouldn't
like,
be
don't
able to
give
handle
away
it.
our fun surprise. Is how I read
okay.
It.
Well, I could deal with that a lot more because it didn't feel like that Karen would be somebody who would like fully.
Karen and Ray would be cool with that. Yeah.
Good. I'm glad you agree with me. Okay, because that seemed odd. And it's during this that they actually they talk about the things we already brought up, which is like, no, it's not her brother. Michael Myers is not Laurie's brother. Didn't only 3 people die in the original movie? That seems low by today's standards, stuff like that. Basically, a lot of this is a way to introduce us to new characters, but also like every other line will be a little new bit of information about what's happening.
And subtly echo the original, 3 friends walking down the together.
Street,
Allison looking out the window, except instead of creepy Michael, it's creepy grandmother.
And that is actually PJ Soles, who played Linda in the first movie, as the voice, of the off-screen English teacher in Allison's class. So got a little original Halloween star cameo in there as a voice. And I have to say, later in the actually pretty soon now, because grandmother Laurie meets her outside the school to try to give her money. And then it cuts to Laurie doing target practice.
The money that she was given by the podcasters. So we see that she wasn't going to pocket it. She just wants to give it to Allison.
Yeah. And she wants her to just go away, leave Haddonfield, if not just for her safety, but also B, like, go live life in a way that I never could, because I'm so completely, wrapped up like a pretzel in my brain. So,
and the big thing here being that Allison and her have a connection, have a bond that Karen and Laurie do not. Like Karen and Laurie have a very rough relationship.
A little more satisfying element at the end of this movie, because Karen is sort of painted. It's not like an unflattering light, but she is lying on several occasions about her mom to Allison. And so for Ray, you know, sadly Ray doesn't make it, but like Ray before he dies, and then Allison eventually does get to see like Laurie's house and the basement and like the fucked up way that Karen was raised, right? Like we even get flashbacks in this movie to Karen as a little kid, being trained and like basically again, like Sarah and John Connor, like for an oncoming storm that they wind up like thinking is bullshit later on. Like John doesn't, but like Karen at this point, you know, is trying to forget all about that.
John did think that a little bit in T2 though. He was like, you know,
well, yeah, but then until the Terminators showed up.
Right, until the Terminators
fucking showed up. So, and I guess that's the same thing with Allison too here. When Michael Myers, who is a Terminator, shows up. And then we get to what I wanted to talk about voiceover wise, which is the Loomis tapes, where they did get an actual Loomis sound alike, which is why I didn't understand why they couldn't just fucking do that earlier. Maybe this was computer generated. I don't know, because it sounds a lot like Donald Pleasence.
I don't think it was, but I just think they got a better, sound alike. I mean,
better dude.
I mean, I can't remember if we talked about this, if I brought this up in relation to Loomis or just another time out at Wizarding World of Harry Potter, when they couldn't get Radcliffe and Emma Watson back to do more. They did the original ride when they added Diagon Alley and they wanted them all to come back for more. And only Rupert Grint said yes of those three. So they had to get sound alikes, and they got a decent Radcliffe, but the Emma Watson sound alike is terrible. Like it just doesn't sound like Hermione. And I know there are people that can, of course, do a better impression. Like there are amazing impressionists out there. I know they could have found someone who did a better.
They just got a woman with a British accent.
Like. yes. So I think that was the Loomis case here. Is just
which is what they just do. They just got a dude with a British accent. So yeah. So then grandmother shows up at the dinner that she wasn't invited to, but she pretends she was invited to, and then actually actively breaks down because it's at that. No, it's not at that moment. When does the dinner happen in relation to her? Okay. She doesn't know Michael, the bus has had an accident yet, but she shows up to the dinner crying anyway.
And she's a moment that I found a quick moment that I was like, oh, that's poignant, which is before she breaks down, which is her saying, I was in the honor society too, because it's like, oh yeah, she was like a bookworm when we met.
Well,
her.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what is the potential lost here for Laurie Strode? Like, what could she have become in her life as far as like, if this had not happened to her, she would have had a completely different future.
She would have run a school in North California.
She would have. But like, that's the other thing is like why she wants like Allison to do her own thing and like to sort of maximize her life.
Yeah.
And she even says the shape, like she's crying and she says, I saw the shape, mentioning him. And this is also when, Karen talks about like, I never told you how I spent my childhood and all that stuff. But then we get the transfer. So the transfer night, Dr. Sartain insists on coming along. And we, this is something because we've seen Michael Myers escape so many times at this point, honestly, we don't see it happen. We don't know what happens. We see the aftermath. And the killing in this movie starts in a very big way. Not only does the killing in this movie start with the killing of a child.
And on screen, not even like finding his body.
Yeah. Not like, oh, that sucks that happened to that young boy named Lumpy.
Yeah.
We're going to watch Michael Myers choke this guy to death and kill him. Like humane death compared to most, but like still very shocking. Like,
I mean, that it happens at all. And it obviously echoes Annie, but it's even more violent, with how he does it.
But like a way to usher Michael Myers back into our lives as a killer is like, and this is the first thing he does that we see him do is absolutely crazy. We don't know what he did on the bus. We don't know how many guards and inmates actually died during this. So again, this movie starts the carnage, and we already have a big question mark with regards to the body count. So, which is almost to say, maybe don't pay attention to the body count. Maybe don't. That's not, don't define the movie by how many people dies, because honestly, we don't know ourselves.
Right. There's one security guy from the bus. We find his body later, but yeah, we don't know, because then the patients are also wander off and it's mentioned, but we don't see them again. But yeah, this whole sequence I really like. Obviously, they're doing a direct echo of the original with the patients wandering the road. It's creepy once again,
which will never not be a terrifying image.
Yeah. I mentioned Horror Nights is very creepy this year in Orlando. Also, we should mention, though, that the way we meet this kid and his dad, and this scene about the kid talking about how he wants to be, dance more, is a very charming scene, and is definitely, I think, of course, where you see like that, comedic minds wrote this horror movie, which is a straightforward horror movie. It's not a comedy horror movie. There's a scene later in the movie that's a much more debated scene as far as what is this doing here about the Bon Me scene.
I think it's just because of, honestly, I don't have a problem with the dialogue. I think it's just the pause that it creates in the momentum.
I think I agree, which is to say, I think this sequence probably does that a little better, which is just spending time with characters we don't know it's a horror movie, so they're probably just here to be victims, which it turns out we're correct on, but it's a nice little scene between them. I think they said that kid, they talked to the kid and he really likes to dance, and they ended up kind of coming up with on the moment, like, oh, that's what your character will be. But it's a nice little moment before a lot of horrific stuff will happen, but also with things that feel like realistically chaotic, like the kid shooting Sartain as he yells, "Don't shoot," in the bus, and then panicking and freaking out and running into the car where he will be murdered. But yes, also, as we mentioned, killing a kid on screen is still a rarity in a horror movie, and the fact that this happened in this one, it was very effective.
Yeah, it's a cool way. I like that we actually didn't see how the accident happened.
Yeah,
that it happened also separately from Dr. Sartain, because honestly, what we learn about him later, you'd think he orchestrated something like this, but he seems to be caught up actually in the maelstrom of it all anyway. So. But yeah, he gets accidentally shot. This is how Michael actually also winds up. He gets a car because the father and son pull over, and Michael kills the kid in the car, drives away, and then we meet Will Patton, the great Will Patton, who's in so many different things that we like, and we enjoy him. First and foremost, The Postman. No, I think that was the first movie though I took notice of Will Patton. Obviously, he's been in a ton of things, but. That movie, because he had the prominent role in that movie of the villain in The Postman, that really I was like, oh yeah, this guy. And then he was just everywhere after that.
I mean, I watched a lot of Falling Skies, so I'm on that, and he is on the mega popular Yellowstone, a show that Matt and I have not seen, but they don't need us.
Which Yellowstone? Yellowstone original recipe?
Oh yeah, original recipe Yellowstone. Yeah.
Okay. He's always good in everything. And not everything he's in is good, but he's always good in everything.
And he's kind of being retconned in here as a guy who was a young deputy the night of the original killings. We didn't see everyone who worked for Brackett, but that he was there that night.
Yeah, and again, still a lingering mystery of like what happened after Loomis shot him and he fell off the terrace of the house. We don't know what's going on. So yeah, Deputy Frank Hawkins is his name, and he gets a call. He gets a call about this crime scene, about the bus stuff, and then we're back to the podcasters who are visiting in another sort of like echoey shadow of the first movie of the walk with the cemetery caretaker, talking about Judith Myers. But at this time, we actually see Michael.
What's so special about Judith Myers?
We see Michael, and then we also get clips of the original movie here. Or is it recreated?
No, it's the original, because the actress who played Judith Myers gets a credit. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, the original kill of Judith Myers, but then also Michael is in the cemetery.
The only nudity in this movie is 40-year-old nudity of Judith.
That's the only nudity I want is 40-year-old nudity.
The 40-year-old nudity.
And we see him, actually don't see him clearly, but he's in the background wearing the sanitarium white here. And this is how we assume at this point, I don't know why he follows the podcasters. What do you think? I keep calling them podcasters. They're not necessarily that, but still.
No, they're podcasters. They got their start in public radio, but they're podcasters.
They go to a gas station next, and he's followed them there, I think.
Yeah.
But like, is it because they were asking about Judith Myers? You know, again, I'm gonna have a few questions like I have in previous movies about why and how he gets to the places
mask,
he gets
man.
to.
He wants that mask.
Oh, that's it. That's it. Okay, you got it. Thanks. You answered it for me. Yeah, because the guy had the mask. He made a mental note of it. He's like, he's got to still have it. Fortunately, he actually still had it in the trunk of his car. Mm-hmm. So yeah, he goes, he kills them in the bathroom in a very Joe Grizzly situation. We get this is another weird echo of a Rob Zombie movie, which is that like, you know, targeting somebody in a bathroom while they're very vulnerable.
Well, woman shitting. Yeah, it is. That's true. Someone shitting in the public bathroom.
You don't want someone shaking on your door, and then much less.
She doesn't talk about the burrito he needs to clear, but
let's also bring up H2O and the fact that he was in a bathroom with another woman in a stall.
Oh, that's true. But this is all very creepy. I remember this was in the trailer. Him dropping the teeth.
Of the mechanic that he killed for the jump.
And we're kind of, I know we're jumping around within even the sequence, but there's a lot of stuff I like here, including when I forget these characters' names too, but the male podcaster, when we see in the background, we see Michael killing the mechanic to get his coveralls back, or a new pair of coveralls, and it's just way in the background, blurry. You could easily miss it. That's happening. I thought that was a fun way to do that.
Dana and Aaron are these two.
And Aaron, yeah.
But as I learn their names, as we don't have to mention them anymore because they're killed off.
They are killed off. And we also, one thing we jumped past that I want to mention quickly is Sheriff Barker. We have to meet the new sheriff in Haddonfield. We don't know a lot about him except he likes his cowboy hat, and he's very like dismissive of like Michael Myers loose with a bunch of nutbags and Haddonfield and Halloween. What are you gonna do? Cancel Halloween? And laughs.
Yeah, it's like maybe. The human version of the emoji shrug. Yeah,
right.
Like, wah, wah.
They get in a meta bit here because when they talk about Michael, they go, "Oh, the babysitter murders," which was the name of the original script for Halloween in 78. Whatever they were going to call it before Halloween.
The babysitters and Bob murders.
That's me.
And then so he kills them. Poor girl has to actually crawl on a gross bathroom floor before she was
trying to
That's
find
terrible.
the cleanest stall, and then she has to crawl into the dirty ones. And then it's all.
And then Michael shit in her mouth. It's all terrible.
Yeah,
the worst way to go. Okay, so bump that.
And he gets the mask back, and he's like, "Yay!"
He's like, "Yay!" And then everyone around him says, "Yay!" and claps, which is weird.
Freeze
it's like,
frame.
okay, guys, all right. There was an interesting thing when they are pumping gas and stuff. I think we see him walk in the background where he's still wearing the sanitarium white, like before he kills for the mechanic outfit. Okay, so he's got his onesie back, Eric, and he's got his mask. It's like the gang's back together. He's like, I could finally kill more kids.
Got my killing clothes. I mean, I was already killing, but
and then we get the line from Frank about how he was there that night. Actually, this isn't the line yet about how he stopped Loomis from killing him, but he mentions he was there that night. And then we get the Halloween party. Oh, no. So before the Halloween party comes one of the best sequences of the movie, which is like Michael Myers.
Well, before that, just to make we get the establishment of the bunker beneath the kitchen. Like we get that we see that is what Laurie has created.
Yeah,
down there. And
this is also the time when Michael's just out. He's out to prowl.
And what a great sequence, all done in one take and one shot.
And so let's just mention here, Michael is not after Laurie Strode.
Nope.
He gets brought to Laurie Strode. Like he just sort of like happens upon her because of the doctor and all the things that happen at the end. He's just like, hey, I'm my old neighborhood. He's like, I'm going to start killing people. And this is way more like the swimming shark. This is just way more like whoever's in my path that I can kill, I'm going to kill. And so it's just this whole like walking around, grabbing a hammer, killing the woman off screen, leaving the baby though. walking into a different house in a great sequence as far as like somebody getting a phone. I'm wondering who's getting this phone call about like Michael Myers is released.
Right.
It doesn't seem like she's getting a warning.
Maybe she's
about
related
to stay indoors.
Bob. That's Bob's sister or something. Yeah, this is a really cool sequence. Just the way we follow him through it all. There's again, there's a lot of nods. It definitely feels like a nod to Halloween 2 when he wanders into the back and gets the hammer and walks in with the woman inside. But also, like you said, he's indiscriminately killing, yet he is measured in that we feel like he's knows
not killing
better.
Kids up and down the streets.
No,
right?
exactly. He knows better that if he does that he's going to be swarmed. So he doesn't do that. It's like, again, there's a nod to the original because the kid walks right into him like in the original. But yeah, he's picking his targets. He's just going in and out and
so it should be brought up that this is a very interesting new way to present Michael Myers, because for decades now he's just been doing the pop-up, you see his face in the background, he's out there. And so we follow the victim as they walk around waiting for him to pop out somewhere. We are following him at this point. And it's a different type of horror, different type of unsettling feeling, rather than like us waiting for Michael to pop up and kill the person we're watching. Mm-hmm. We're watching him walk around and kill people. And it's still a different, it's scary, but in a different way. And we're following him instead of the victim. But then, that changes when he gets to the actual house Vicky's babysitting at. But it's it's just a cool way. I actually could have done with another sequence like this during the movie, but it's still great just as it is. So then we get the babysitting friend with, again, the comedian's touch here. Vicky and Julian. I could watch an entire movie of Vicky.
I mean, the fact that they got a kid who is really funny and great, and the two of them have a really fun, natural dynamic together. So yes, this was it does have it's funny, there's always those moments where you're like, I would have cut that, which is, I wish Julian didn't yell "oh shit" when Michael actually comes out of the closet, because that's the moment where it should just be scary. Yeah. But everything before that, I think, is really funny. And
I also like when he runs out, and because Dave was actually Dave comes back in, it's like, no, don't go, Dave, you're gonna die. Like, don't go.
That I'm okay with. Dave, you're gonna die. That feels natural to me.
But yeah, everyone, the way people talk, it feels heightened, but just the right amount, amount of, they're not like Kevin Williamson clever, but they're more natural and funny than that. So they're smart and sort of witty in a different way, that a way for a new era, Eric. And I
am confused by Dave getting a tattoo, and then she says, you're getting dry fucked. It's like, did he get the tattoo thinking he was going to lose his virginity, or was it just, we're just going to like make out tonight and I want a tattoo for that? It's not clear.
I don't know. I don't feel like Dave makes great decisions in general.
Like, I mean, I definitely
he's setting off, like, he's like, I did this to commemorate the day I stuck a firecracker inside someone's pumpkin and blew it up this morning.
Ultimately, it doesn't matter, because I do appreciate the darkness of he got a tattoo for the day he died. I'm a little confused about how he got there, but that's okay.
Okay, so then Vicky's
and a bunch of nods here, by the way. Like, Dave goes outside and there's a bunch of sheets being hung out by Julian's family, presumably.
And when Frank eventually finds her body, she's under a sheet, and he's gets the boyfriend death, which is the stab to the wall.
But this time he's face first. He's turned around.
So it's all different, but the same, right?
Mm-hmm.
And do you think,
really cool visual, by the way, I want to say, when Michael is attacking Vicky, and like Julian's, whatever, his like kid nightlight, like the green lights on Michael's mask, it looks really freaky and cool.
We should mention that this was random, right? So it's not like, again, he's not killing Vicky to get to Allison, to get to Karen, to get to Lori, right? Like, we just assume that he's going down the street and finding different houses, and this was like the next one or something,
Maybe he's like, oh, cool, a babysitter, like old times.
Yeah, he's like, gets me right here. Like, look at my arm. Look at the hair standing up. I got goosebumps. So, doctor meets. When does the doctor meet Laurie Strode?
But also, I want to mention,
at the crime scene, all the stuff they find the injured
and this
doctor.
is also though when we get for the first time in this series, we get the direct Halloween 3 reference with the 3 kids dressed in the silver shamrock masks.
Yes.
Who are outside when this guy turning into a crime scene there.
Somehow they survived the Silver Shamrock massacre that happened.
Other timelines.
When all the bugs came out of people. Okay. Then we've got Laurie meeting Dr. Sartain and even calling him you're the new Loomis.
Right.
And
which functions both as a meta moment, but also she's so dismissive, like, whatever.
Yeah. Then we learn about Frank being like one of the first responding deputies and stop Loomis from killing Michael that night. This is nothing we see happen. It's just words at this point. Mm-hmm. And then, Sartain, he's already weird, but then he really starts to sort of turn about talking more about like how obsessed he is with Michael and like
what Michael feels,
what he feels. Is it a random path? Is he emotionally driven? He also must not be harmed. It's very, very Burke from Aliens. It's very like, don't harm the scientific subject. He's valuable to me and my perverse likes. So, and then we've got the Halloween party I kind of skipped over, but basically Allison saw Cameron kissing someone else and they kind of had a little bit of a blow up and she left him there. She is now walking home with Oscar.
Cameron disappears from the movie. He wasn't originally, there was a scene shot. I think he gets arrested or something, but that got cut for time. So he does vanish from the movie.
We should mention, I don't think it was actually brought up with the fact that this was a planned trilogy, right?
It was a planned trilogy, but without the green light for 2 and 3. So they had to kind of play that.
So again, like Rob Zombie's Halloween, this could act as an end. Yep. With Cameron not showing up would be weird, but whatever, it's fine. But it's still like you could not watch Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends, right? And this is still a fantastic end to Halloween.
It's
like
just a two-movie story,
as it stands. Yeah. So if you don't like what happens in Kills or specific even Ends, which is supposed to be the end, just stick with this movie. It acts as an end. It's fine. She even says goodbye to him. She's like, goodbye. And he's like, bye. And then, this is the Oscar tries to kiss Allison and she leaves him alone, which leads to fun with motion sensor lights and Michael Myers, which is a fun, cool new visual scene.
A cool, effective scene, even though the motion lights are very erratic about how long or not long they stay on and off. That's okay. It works very well as far as Michael moving, even though he shouldn't be able to, but that's part of the fun of Michael. Like when the lights are off, he's getting closer. And
one thing I always liked about this is that he gets killed on the gate, but then she sees it happen because she could have just kept walking and like there could have been a different second half of this movie where she learns later that Michael's there, but no, she comes back, sees him dead, and then actually gets to see Michael. Yeah, cool.
Behind and the best new piece of music in this movie kicks in when she sees that. As far as Carpenter wrote the score with his son and another colleague,
Cody.
And there's a great musical. I love the piece that plays here. The kind of rising dreadful piece when Allison sees Michael.
It's Daniel Davies, who's their other collaborator with music, so now it's on, right? Like, and it's not like, again, he has no idea that going after her is going after the granddaughter of Laurie Strode. These are just like, it's all sort of like happenstance occurrence that for the sake of moviedom.
We're about to talk about the Sartain of it all because this is Sartain's big reveal here, which I don't love. It's the one part of this movie that always felt weird to me, but I guess I do like a little bit that Sartain wants there to be the connection that's not there, right? Like Sartain is like, Laurie and Michael like survive because their pursuit of each other, but ultimately Michael only ends up facing Laurie because Sartain literally drives him there. And the idea is that Laurie herself was wrong about Michael being obsessed with her. Why are you so obsessed with me? and that he is just this random.
So that's
killer.
the thing. It's like Sartain and Laurie have these fixations on Michael that he doesn't have, and they project onto him, and in turn doom themselves in a way to revisit it because they are assuming. And so I'm going to ask that of these movies too, in an interesting roundabout way, as far as like this movie really sort of proving a point of like Michael Myers is just a random killer, and it's only the people who are convinced he's coming back to them that make him come back to them in a weird roundabout way. Then as we go forward, I won't give too much away about the next movie or so, because neither of us have seen Ends yet, but obviously we've seen the second one, Kills. As far as like how it's one of those things where, is he a random killer? How, I don't know. I can't put it to words.
No, I think you're. Tell me if this is at all what you're talking about, which is that because Michael's never going to give a monologue, as far as we know, we can wonder.
I hope that's the final like 15 minutes of Ends.
Laurie, let's talk. No, we can wonder. It is possible. We're speculating that at the end of this movie, he never intended to go find Laurie. Didn't care. He's literally put on her doorstep because of Sartain. He ends up confronting her. Does that then spark within him? Oh, it's that girl. And now maybe he does care again.
But okay, but like not giving away too much about the path of the second movie of Halloween Kills, which is that.
But we'll talk about next.
You remind me, but like, isn't his path in the second movie just to go home?
Yes.
Okay.
I think the ultimate thing here, there could be that aside there. You could wonder if when he sees her at her house at the end of this movie,
he's like, you
does it have like, oh, it's you, I want to fucking kill you like I did 40 years ago. But at the same time, it was never like, I have to get Laurie Strode. And that definitely, I mean, that's a very conscious decision from the moment they undid the sister thing. It's like, that this is randomness, as much as Sartain and, like you said, Laurie would kind of like to think otherwise.
And we should mention that at this point, Laurie has found out all this stuff, gone home. Everyone's worried because Allison's still out. Do we know what happened to her cell phone? I don't know why people can't.
It was thrown in the cheese dip by Cameron when he was pissed. Yeah.
Okay, so then they go, basically Ray and Karen go to Laurie's house, to her compound, and this is where Ray is like, what is all this bullshit? Like, it's crazy stuff.
But Allison is in Hawkins' car with Sartain, which is when they spot Michael. And it's not, they don't pull a local teenager decides to dress like Michael gag again. It is Michael.
And so basically Michael gets run over, and Sartain is like super pissed.
Yes.
And this is when you're talking about the turn. Sartain too is also like like you said, there's mixtape elements going on here. There's wholly original elements, and then there's also mixtape elements. And one of them is the crazy doctor that was sort of like that you could sort of infer was sort of Cult of Thornish, as far as somebody who wants to nurture and study Michael's condition and madness rather than help lock him up and secure him and put him away.
You referenced that earlier, and it was like, when Sartain takes out his special pen, which turns out to have a retractable blade, and stabs Hawkins in the neck. And I remember when this movie came out, someone tweeted something and I was like, yes. A bunch of people, myself included, replied yes to, which is, someone tweeted, did anyone else think when that happened, he was about to pull up his sleeve and reveal a Cult of Thorn tattoo? And the answer is 100%. I was like, oh my God.
Honestly, it would have been awesome. And like, maybe Ends will even, we're not over yet. But I'm just saying, like, it like, all you need to do, if it's a good movie, it's a good movie. You can explain things, right? Like, obviously, I don't think that necessarily works without the previous bad telling of the story.
Right.
I don't think it's like if 6 hadn't existed, that wouldn't it wouldn't have now been something to redeem with a good movie.
Right.
I don't think you could pull it out of nowhere. Okay.
Although again, I don't love Sartain. He's maybe my least favorite element here. I have softened on that a little, in that I do like that he does kind of he's another embodiment of like wanting to put meaning that isn't there onto this.
You know what?
I don't love that he wants to like, kill people and wear Michael's mask.
Yeah. What softened a lot is his head, because it really fucking explodes everywhere.
It does.
It's a huge pop.
Again, I think it was Zombies Halloween 2 where he curb stomped someone to death.
Yeah.
I will say, when it happens in Halloween 2, in both movies, it's super gory, but in Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, it takes like 5 stomps. This Michael, again, because he's like the original deal, he's one stomp. Just as big as Tyler Mane's Michael was, he needed to do it a few times. This Michael just bam, Sartain bursts.
And again, so yeah, like how we'll debate this off and on going forward as far as like how strong, how resilient, how supernatural is this Michael.
Yeah. And I think the answer has always been from the original movie. There is a sprinkling of supernatural that is implicit with Michael, but yes, how far is too far? That's always the sliding scale of it.
And I think we'll talk about that in the next movie. So then, yeah, wearing the mask, and then Allison here proving to be sort of earning her honor society stripes as far as like being pretty cleverless and figuring out exactly what to say to Sartain to get him to stop. And there's the moment, so creepy. It's all creepy anytime.
Although also it's like
as far as like putting Michael Myers, obviously to people who have been watching Michael Myers movies for so long, we know he is not dead, and she's just putting a feral Michael Myers in the back of right next to Allison in the back of the cop car.
Right. And I like that Sartain also is like, because he's again desperate to put together pieces of a puzzle that might not be able to put together, when he's just like, she said, Michael spoke, he said a word, and he's like, what was it? Was it sister's name? Was it Judith? Because it's like he wants there to be this like stuff there, this connection.
No, yeah, exactly. And so she figures that out about him and like uses that to distract, and then Michael like basically smooshes him against the wheel, crushes his head outside, but it allows her chance to scoot out of there and run away.
But they are now in front of Laurie's place.
Yeah. Right. At this point. So yeah, like the journalist earlier, Sartain has Laurie Strode plans as far as like, we need to put these two and see what happens. He has very specific things he kind of
wants. Like the real world. We wanted to see what would happen.
But like, so like NBC's Hannibal did this to a much more playful effect. It's like, hey, what happens if I do this? I don't know. Let's find out. Like, he often doing things that could endanger him as well, like as far as like combustible elements of like causing chaos in the people around him, or like the FBI and stuff like that. Sartain has like a wish list, I think, but also is kind of like very curious about what happens. Yeah, Sartain's hoping that certain theories about him that he has will be proven correct when he puts Michael in the same room as Laurie. But anyway, this is all a way to get Laurie Strode and Michael Myers together near the Banh Mi Brigade, who is on the block.
Remember the really good Banh Mi truck that would come to IGN when we were in Beverly Hills?
Yeah, it was great. That was the first time I had Banh Mi sandwiches. I didn't know what it was.
I believe it was first.
And then I was like, Banh Mi is for me.
And when I watched this movie, I was like, I agree with the guy who's pushing the Banh Mi, is because I've had a great Banh Mi.
Yeah.
And then I was so sad when he died. I was like, no.
Yeah, well, I mean, like the at least he didn't get his head turned into a weird jack-o'-lantern flashlight thing.
I mean, Michael worked quick on that. Yeah, that's the one guy is got the Sartain's knife pen stabbed through his head, and he's holding the other guy's head, which has been turned into a human pumpkin. Michael worked quick, but if you're
determined. Like the child at the beginning of this movie, or not the beginning, but the first person we see Michael kill in this movie, Ray, a likable character, also gets a humane death.
He gets one of the more gentle by Michael's standards death. Yeah.
But then he's also like, I don't know. He's in this compound and he doesn't seem to be very, I'm sure he's concerned about Allison, but I don't know. I wouldn't just be doing yo-yo tricks if my daughter was out there with a madman around. Right. Seems very casual about all of this. Anyway, Ray gets killed. And at this point, Laurie sees Michael outside of the window of her door. And Michael, the first confrontation involves Michael breaking his hand through the door and Laurie blowing his fingers off with the shotgun. So already going forward, continuity wise, Michael must now be missing three fingers.
I think two. I think he's missing the two bottom fingers on his left hand. Yeah.
Yeah. Which if you watch the Halloween Ends teaser, yep, it's still no fingers. So yeah.
And I've got the NECA action figure missing those fingers for Halloween Kills.
And I'm ripping off my own fingers just to match Michael Myers. So then comes like the end game here, where Allison's sort of like running up to the compound. She gets freaked out by all the mannequins, and
which is fun because they are freaky.
Creepy scene. And then also the sort of tense Laurie stalking Michael through the house moment, where there's a fun, great Judy Greer turn at the end of this movie, which is one of the best parts of the movie. I think my favorite part after the, Michael stalks people with a hammer through the house scene. But like before that happens, Laurie's going through her house looking for Michael. Very tense moment, I remember, in the theater.
And another mannequin scene, because it's the one where you kind of know he's hiding in that room somewhere.
And then we get them fighting again, but this time, like, she gets thrown outside.
And they fight over the knife.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So a lot more physical confrontation between Laurie but again, we've been having these fights happen for a while now. Any of the first movie, which is like the smallest version of this, up through H2O, which was like this like gladiator showdown,
right?
And then now we've got like these two old scarred souls like coming at each other, and with Laurie now fully trying to protect her family. Yeah, go for it.
I mentioned, I remember seeing H2O opening night with a great crowd, and I saw this with a great crowd as well. There were lots of big applause moments, but a particularly big one was the big callback of her vanishing. Like, again, they already did the thing where she was the one outside the window, but when Michael knocks her off the balcony and then he gets distracted hearing Allison, and then he looks back and now Laurie has vanished. That got big cheers. That aha! I am now the Vanisher, Michael.
Yeah, and in the fact that like, so the whole house has been built as a trap for him, like complete trap. The basement itself is a trap, and then so Karen like playing up the scared, helpless like daughter, like inept daughter, like proving herself in that moment to be like a badass, like that, like suckers Michael in, shoots him in the neck.
Yeah,
he gets. I love that moment so much.
It's such a great moment.
Because it's like, she can't have forgotten all of her training for all those years,
That's a great moment. That was another big cheer moment. And also, there's also a metatextual thing here that I don't think was intentional, but with Judy Greer's career, which is she is always cast as the best friend in romantic comedies, or in giant blockbusters like Jurassic World or Ant-Man and the Wasp, has someone who is not going to be part of your big action climax. Like, she is, an important character to the leads, but not an important character to the plot. And so she will sit out the action finale. This time she is present for it, but it seems like she's going to just cower. So it's a nice turn that, she's actually like tricking him here.
It's a full, like, like those, like almost like a jigsaw trap. Those bars shut up over the, like the opening to the cellar,
which Karen gets to like push the giant lever to close.
And actually explain like it's a trap, like it's not a cage, it's a trap.
Oh, and we should mention that it's a full 3-generational team up, because they tell Allison to leave, she doesn't, and instead she stabs Michael when he's coming at them out of the basement.
And they light there's gas lit downstairs, like set up for Michael, and basically so she lights the
entire house is set up.
The entire house on fire. The entire house is meant to burn with Michael in the basement, and they say goodbye, and he says bye, and they ride
I really
off.
like how he just stares forward in his cold Michael way. Again, second movie in this franchise, but 2 different timelines that ends with Michael Myers presumably burning to death. But in a different way.
But I do so I feel like, a good rule of thumb is H2O can exist on its own without obviously resurrection ruining the bulk of it. And this movie, if you don't care for part 2 and 3 of this particular trilogy, this movie is a solid fucking movie that exists on its own as an end to the story. Like
very much so. And
yeah.
I want to mention that when this all happens, it's all very well done, as we mentioned, with the fire, Michael staring forward as if like, you know, being creepy but also accepting his fate. And they play kind of a operatic sort of sad version of the Halloween theme that makes it feel very final.
Requiem for a Boogeyman. Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, good goddamn movie.
Good movie.
Very satisfied with this.
Todd.
Made us super hyped for the other two that were coming out. Then
and it was a huge hit.
Movie this made me less excited, hit. But yeah. And you know, the second one last year was delayed a year.
Yes,
already.
We should have already seen the conclusion. If not for COVID, we would have seen Halloween Ends a year ago.
Right. So this movie was supposed to Halloween Kills was supposed to come out in 2020. Delayed a year. Still released a year ago around this time when people still weren't fully going out to movies. It was still a iffy stuff for theaters, so they simul released it on Peacock. The next movie still made a lot of money considering, right?
No, it still made well.
Yeah, it still did very well. Obviously, it made 100 million less than this movie did, but if your movie only cost $20 million to make, it doesn't matter. And you earn over 100 million, you're doing pretty good. So yeah,
because this movie, 2018, making over 250 million, this overperformed. I mean, this was a huge.
Well, that was the highest grossing Halloween movie ever, right? So
yeah.
Okay.
Big hit. We'll
and then
Halloween.
So Halloween Kills was no slouch either, and I think Halloween Ends will do pretty well too. If not, even if people who were disappointed by Halloween Kills, this movie, like, it's the end. Like, it's got the it promises, like, people are still going to want to see how it all turns out and how it closes up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if it makes a little less than the last one, just because
the last one. Okay.
But I still think again with the budgets and the success levels of these are all unequivocally.
I wonder what the budget is. Do you think they all have about the same?
No, I'm sure it's gone up, and I'm sure Jamie Lee Curtis's salary has only gone up. Although they signed her for 2 movies, so I'm sure they did like a
so that's why
package deal. And I'll just say that the mega success of this has directly led to 2 sequels, to getting the green light, that they're going to film them back to back and whatnot. Though again, COVID delayed the exact plans. It definitely helped influence the fact that Scream has returned. It's just interesting that it has not brought back Freddy and Jason again. There are complications that you had onto that, but it is sort of fascinating. As we mentioned weeks ago, Halloween kind of started it all with these mega slasher franchises, but then kind of got lapped by these other ones that were making movies more quickly and making more money. So it is kind of interesting to see that this is the one that came back so strong. Whatever you feel about these 2 movies, box office wise, unequivocally huge hits. And right now is like the one the kids would know the most, right? This is the one that's contemporary. So that's it. It's all come full circle.
Yeah, what do they know from slashers except the last slashers standing are Chucky and Jason?
Yeah.
And I mean, Chucky and Michael Myers. Sorry.
And this movie, 2018, definitely, I think, was purposely made to be accessible to a teenager walking in who's never seen the original. The dialogue is there to explain the backstory, and I just watched one of the only Hellraiser movie that brings back Christy from the first 2 of all the straight to video ones, and it doesn't do that successfully. Like she's back in a shitty, stupid way, but it's only going to help if you've seen those first 2 movies. Oh, that's cool. But if you're just like randomly watching a Hellraiser movie because you've heard the title Hellraiser, you'd have no idea that she's important. Whereas Halloween 2018, I think, does a very good job of being like, here's the story. Here we're going to explain to you what this story is, but if you haven't seen that movie, this can still work. Once
Hellraiser comes out in a short while, it'll be interesting to note, like I was just saying, like younger people today, he's like, what's your slasher Mount Rushmore? Well, there are only 4 operating, right? And who are the ones still making product? So yeah, Michael Myers, Chucky, Pinhead, the new Pinhead, and Ghostface, the ones who are like
Well,
still bopping around.
There was a Chainsaw Massacre movie on Netflix earlier this year, so there you go.
Oh god, that came and went and it got terrible reviews, right? Like,
yeah, but I mean that's been the par for the course for that series for quite a while.
yeah.
I might try to convince you to do those movies one day. We'll see.
That's calling in a big favor because
you'll love it. You'll love it.
Okay. Well, can we just do the Rothman one?
Yeah, yeah. You know what we're gonna do like 10 weeks of that movie of Texas Chainsaw Massacre for the next generation.
Good. That is a crazy movie. Different than Barbarian crazy.
The craziest of crazy movies.
All right. Until next time when we talk about Halloween Kills, everything is possible, but nothing is real. And Shakma.
Shakma.
Shakma!